Okay, so we're gonna determine a few things. I added a few questions to the slide, but something we need to do here is called find the axis of symmetry by using a formula negative b over 2a. So x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, standard form, that's what this is. Standard form helps you get the y-intercept. As soon as you see standard form, the question that they give you right away is that this 7 is the y-intercept. So I'm going to come here. I'm actually going to answer question 5 first because I know the y-intercept is 7 and x is 0 anytime I have a y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 0, comma negative 7. I don't know my vertex, right? I'm looking at these graphs. I don't know the high point or the low point. I do know the axis of symmetry, or I am able to find it out by using a formula. The formula is x equals negative b over 2a. Super important. Anytime you plug into this formula, I need you to plug in using parentheses every single time. So let's see what this means. Remember how quadratics work. This is a, this is b, this is c. So I'm going to put x equals, the negative is part of the formula. It's always going to be there. B is negative 8, so I'm going to open parentheses and put minus 8 inside parentheses. On the bottom, I'm going to put 2, because that's always part of the formula, always going to be there. A is this number in front, which is 1. So now I'm going to solve negative, negative becomes a positive. So anytime I have two consecutive negatives like this, it just becomes a positive. So this becomes positive 8. The bottom, 2 times 1 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 4. When I answer this first question, I'm not just going to put 4. I got to say what equals 4? X equals 4. Okay? So if I have my axis of symmetry, I also have the x on my vertex. Now I need to plug back in and I need to find the y value. So think about it. If I have an x and I need to get y, I just plug x in. So I go back to this equation. I write y equals, instead of x, I'm going to put parentheses. I'm going to put 4 squared minus 8. Instead of x again, I'm going to put open a 4 in parentheses plus 7. So I'm solving this, and the first thing I'm going to do, if we got order of operations, is the exponent. 4 squared. Well, that's not saying 4 times 2. It's saying 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is going to give me 8. So now I have y equals 8 minus 8 times 4 plus 7. The next step, now you're going to go left to right. The next step is multiplying, right? Oops. Trying to fix. It's just coming in so well. It's so clear. Okay. Negative 8 times 4 is the next part, which is going to give me negative 32. I made a mistake, and I already see it. 4 times 4 is 16. I did 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is not 8. 4 times 2 is 16. So let's fix that mistake. I do apologize. That's going to be 16. Right here, negative 8 times 4 is going to be negative 32. So I have 16 minus 32 plus 7. Okay, you know how I know I made a mistake last problem? Or this problem? And you know how I caught it right away? It's because, here's a trick. Anytime you're finding the vertex and you're plugging into a formula, or you're plugging into this form, the standard form of an equation, and you're finding vertex, this first term is always going to be half of this second term, and they're always going to be opposite sides. It's not an answer, but it's a self-checkpoint. If it doesn't happen, you know you entered something incorrectly, and you got to go back and check your work. So that's how I knew I had my mistake. Anyways, we fixed it. This is half of this, and they're opposite signs, so perfect. That's what I wanted to happen. Negative 16 minus 32 is negative 16. And then negative 16 plus 7 is going to give me negative 9. So the y of my vertex is going to be negative 9. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. Max or min? Well, max or min just really depends on the first term that's up here. So I look, and the first term in this equation was positive, meaning I have a minimum. Right? It has to look like this. So if I have a minimum, it's always associated with the y of my vertex, so minimum at negative 9. Vertex form. So vertex form, I'm going to write over here because I'm out of space. But vertex form is y equals x. Or sorry, y equals, I'm making all these mistakes right now. I'm trying to rush to finish this. Y equals a, parentheses, x minus h, squared plus k. Note, go back to your vertex. You see how this is x and y? X and y can also be h and k. So now I'm going to go plug in y equals a. Well, we know a because a is what number? 1 Do I have to write that? No. I'm going to open parentheses, and now I'm going to do x minus h. So this x never changes. This h changes. Think about h. H is 4. It's the same thing as x of your vertex. I told you a long time ago, if you plug in the parentheses, plug in opposites. So the opposite of putting plus 4, I'm going to put minus 4 squared, and then plus k. Well, k is the y of my vertex, and there's no parentheses, so I don't have to change it. I'm just going to put minus 9, and this would be my answer in vertex form. It would be y equals x minus 4 squared minus 9. Okay, the last thing we have to do here is talk about if it's increasing or decreasing. Well, remember how we said we know what it looked like already because of the first term? We know it opens upwards, so we know it looks like this. The axis of symmetry cuts this in half symmetrically. So let's think about the axis of symmetry. Anything on the left of the axis of symmetry means less than, right? So if this is the axis of symmetry and I know the graph has to look like this, everything on the left of it, right, means less than. So x is less than, and x is less than the axis of symmetry, which is 4. As I'm on the left of like this fake graph, we just kind of made a graph. We didn't fully graph it. We know it has to look like this. So we're kind of using a cheat, and it's going to help us because we're going to look to the left of the axis of symmetry. And as I'm walking on the left of the axis of symmetry, I think of a roller coaster. Is it going up or down? Well, it's going down, right? I'm on the left. This is going down. If that's going down, it means it's decreasing. So what's decreasing? Well, over here, when x is less than 4, it is decreasing. So if I know this is decreasing, I know the opposite, x is greater than 4, is what's got to be increasing. But let's look at it. As I go to the right of the axis of symmetry, these y values are going up. That means they're increasing. Anything on the right is always a greater than sign, and then it would be greater than 4. So these are all my answers. I'm going to box this real quick so we can kind of see a little bit more clear. Okay. Hope this video guys helps, guys.